Hello everyone, No Life here, and today I'm going to be going over the 150 changes that we saw in last week's update, or rather patch, I guess you'd call it, 'cause it didn't add any content to this update, quote unquote. So I guess you can really just call this a patch, huh? But moving on, getting straight on into it, we are going to cover Leatherface and his instant start. So this was a big change that they advertised here, as now Leatherface's instant start level 3 ability will will be just that, instant. You of course still have the whole ripcord falling down, then you having to press the button to start off the chainsaw, but he no longer raised the chainsaw over his head and he can immediately move right after pulling a cord. So that is very handy in ambushing victims. Now, for those of you who wanted to maybe run around with the chainsaw off and do some sort of stealth type thing, it's not very effective and really only works on new players. You might be able to pull something off if, let's say, someone's unlocking a door and you're clued onto it by exterior alarms, but besides that, you might as well just keep your chainsaw on and as stated, run around the map with your overhead already. Now, there are some scenarios where you can use it effectively, such as, and this is something DVD players are going to love, Insidious style camping an area and waiting for, let's say, Anna here to climb up a ladder, followed by you then proceeding to start that baby up and catch her with her panties down, and she can't use that ladder as an escape route. That is one of the most effective ways I find you can use instant start, but again, just being able to start that saw up as quick as it is just great for moments when you're stunned or what have you, and you just start that baby up and take care of a bully on or leaving down the basement. So moving on, well, we're on the topic of Leatherface. We have his quicker destruction of barricades. So just to be clear, if anyone's an idiot like me and thinks that it was just all across the board buff and speed to destruction, no, it is only for barricades. However, it is extremely fast. Now, when they said they're shaving 2 seconds off, I think you might have misinterpreted it as making the animation 2 seconds, if not a little under that, as that thing is scary fast. I remember the first time I seen a new animation, I had to take a double take there because it felt like I blinked and missed something. But I'm going to actually do a comparison of the old animation for destroying the barricades and the new. And again, you could just see just how ridiculously fast it has increased from. Now, they definitely still might want to do something about crawl spaces. Doors are okay, because at least if you get stabbed during a door break, you can pick off where you left off. But the crawl space animation, always in my opinion, has been very long, and if you get interrupted during, you have to do the whole thing over. So whether it's a scale or them just reducing the speed on that one too, they might want to do something about it. I can see why they'd want to not do it because again, that's like permanently cutting off a tool a victim can use. But barricades are a tool too. The only exception is they work DBD style with the breakable walls on that game, and you kind of need to break some of them to stop disgusting loops in half of the maps access areas that the victims can access but the family can't, which again is something they still need to look into. There's a lot of areas like gas station where you need to break those barricades, and with them lifting the Leatherface requirement again, it forces you to basically use him anyway because some of those maps are damn near unplayable without Leatherface, and again it just feels like a lazy way to force us to use him. But small rant aside, we'll now be going on to the victim stuck spots. So there are a lot of stuck spots that are fixed across the boards, like in gas station, whatnot. I haven't encountered that or seen one that were stuck there. However, I can confirm going down ladders, at least on Slaughterhouse, still appears to be bugged. As you can see at the clip here, I got hit by Sissy just before I could reach the bottom of the ladder, and unlike before when I got stuck in there with Anna, like I showed you guys off in the last week's video about the 150 changes, I did not get out of it by crouching. Instead, once she initiated execution, then I fell through the floor and was able to gain control of my character. But after she finished the animation, I lost control of my character, and it clued me in that I indeed was killed, where my dismembered corpse could be seen by all. So that's something they need to look into because the ladders have been an issue since the game started, and it really needs to be nipped in the bud here. It's getting kind of ridiculous. So, moving on here, we have a bunch of issues with textures and what have you. But as I said in last week video, that's not important. I'm not gonna go crazy about that. Just know that they fixed it. Mostly something PC players would have experience. But Jack in the Box, I have not used Jack in the Box, so I can't speak on that. However, I can confirm, although I don't have any clips showing it. Uh, People abusing him is still an issue. I had a Connie on Family House that was jumping in and out of it. I mean, she seemed like she was kind of just memeing anyway, but again, it's still annoying. It's something that needs to be addressed. It's pretty obnoxious as the only counter for it really is timing your grab so you can snatch them out of it before they actually get in, and usually that leads to at least one free hit. So we have, which is honestly kind of a bit of a buffer Nancy here. They have removed bars from the bars to the point off of the middle section of Nancy's skill tree. That's where Feral and Scout was, and replaced it with one attribute point. I was disappointed because the bars to point that they did keep was on her left side, right where pins and needles and poison claws is, and that was already her meta side of the tree, with bars to point being one of the only two useful perks on Nancy's tree, besides, of course, no one escapes hell. So again, I really wish they kept the middle one instead and incentivized you to go up that path more. But they also surprisingly gave Nancy two random perks in a tree that is going to be on the side here right at the beginning, where you can get Chicken Whisperer and Blood Banker, as well as Tracker Tagged and Dinner Bell, which Tracker Tag I'll mention the changes with that a little later. But Nancy now having access to at least one random perk when she goes over to her left side, which is a meta route, is huge. As now this unlocks her to be able to use Poison Claws and Fire It Up, which is big on her. And now you could do Universal Donor, Blood Banker, and Pins and Needle, which is like the ultimate support build. So I haven't noticed a big uptick in Nancy players, but just know that that is a lot of things that are possible thanks to this change. So we have Nancy's exploits with spy billing. I can't really speak on that as I have no idea if I've ever been doing them by mistake or not. I can never say I purposely exploited that. But just know that should be fixed. There was issues with the -1 ability showing on family members and what have you. I still see it pop up when someone joins the lobby occasionally, but it then promptly changes to the proper level. So hopefully that's fixed. I don't have to say anything about Slippery being on Danny's tree. I can say that people have been using it. I believe it might be as a random perk. I don't remember seeing it on his tree itself. But moving on here, can't speak on crashes with switching characters. As I rarely end up switching with someone. If I do, it's usually them kind of doing it while I'm customizing. Then at that point, I usually accidentally give them the character, even if I didn't want to give them it. So yeah, again, never experienced any issues with Nancy and Sissy getting stuck in each other or what have you when they're grabbing poison from a station. But they claimed it's fixed. No, it's fixed. Now there's issues with the people leaving the lobby when they are exploiting or what have you. Now, even if they leave the lobby, their name's still going to show up. Just keep in mind, if you want to talk trash to someone at the end of the game and you see they're still there from looking at the results screen, if you don't see a yellow mic symbol disappear or whatever, they might have already left. Or so just kind of keep in mind for little stuff like that before you trash talk, or you might embarrass yourself and just really be in a lobby talking yourself. No, they did add the thing with you getting feedback on who you report. I believe I reported one person, but I didn't see anything that told me they took action against that person. So I don't know if the system's in place yet or what have you. But hey, it's supposed to be there, so I guess you got to trust that it is. There has been issues with loadouts not setting properly and what have you. I still have issues with perks not being swapped out properly. Whether it's I switched to, let's say, stunt double last second because we're on Family House, I'd still come in and I'd have, let's say, tougher stuff on instead of stunt double. I could switch out my grandpa perk, and then it still show that I had the old grandpa perk I had on. So there's still issues like that showing up, which is annoying. And oh, another thing I also wanted to mention while we're on the topic of stuff like this is if you haven't respect Nancy after they changed the mate to a tree, if you had a barge to point from the old place it was in the middle, it still will be in your loadout until you respect her. So if you liked the way you had Nancy set up before barge to point in the middle, you can keep that for the time being. But keep in mind they might force reset all Nancy's or whatever just to put that change in properly. And there's going to be issues with claiming extra points and whatnot in the tree until you respect, because again, that extra point where a barge is, it's like bugged out into your respect because the point that they replaced barge with, you're still using barge and loadout, so technically, you did claim that point. But I also want to mention after this change they made to Nancy Tree, it gets a little buggy. So as you can see here on the tree, it's like a broken path. But once you go through the tree again and start bridging stuff, it usually fixes stuff. So we have the fixes to there. Some of the ragdoll animations. So I can't confirm that for all you cook mains who like the easier said than done, just can be completely humiliating whoever you kill. That's been fixed. So you might want to go back to the default animation if you think that's quicker, because you're not gonna really humiliate people with them ragdoll like a inflatable arms man when you kill them now. They also fixed animations across the board. So as you can see, I'm going to do a before and after comparison on one of Nancy's executions. I believe this is the dead meat, which in my opinion looks a lot more brutal now that it does the proper animation instead of them ragdolling. So she starts beating them. Like I don't do any custom matches. And the invite system is a little buggy for me, at least on PlayStation. So I usually just do the code system. So I can't speak on any of that. But moving on along here, we have Must Have Been a Wind and there they are, whatever that perk's called. I haven't used any of those, so I can't say if they've properly fixed those. The perk, I forget what it's called, the one that makes you make less noise when you're grabbing stuff in the basement. That perk seems to work. I usually don't make much noise, if any at all, when I loudly get stuff early. It's just the fact everybody else does. So that's kind of one of the reasons why that perk's a little useless, because it doesn't affect anyone else's noise. But for the most part, they seem to definitely have fixed that. Now we have Danny tampering the generator, pump, and all other stuff. People still being able to turn it off. That has been fixed according to notes, but I haven't had a situation where I've tampered something that someone else completed, and it was then um, turned on by the family in front of me. So hopefully that indeed was fixed properly. Next, he has escapes. I can confirm they have fixed that, as the points are showing properly, so you can again accurately track what victims are doing, whether they're still in the basement or if they got up and what have you. Now, the issues with Grandpa's sonar warning, particularly with um, agitating and stabbing him, I'm not entirely sure what they meant by that. I'm guessing they mean that, like, let's say you stab Grandpa and then he wakes back up and they feed him or what have you. I think it was like kind of misaligned the scream, so maybe it's shorter or longer than it should have. But again, I never noticed that issue, so I can't really speak on whether it's been properly fixed or not. But again, they said they fixed it, so there you have it. Haven't gotten any close encounters with Cook with Sunny, so they said that they changed it so we know it screams like Anna, but I am not entirely sure, as I would have to purposely lose a fight with Cook. I'm most interested to even have that happen. But while we're on the topic of Sunny, they actually fixed the issues with him where his ability wouldn't properly track family members through multiple walls. And I can definitely say that fix was huge on Sunny, as he now feels amazing to use. I can really honestly say the only change they need to make to him now is his attributes, although we getting into the next change here, the nerfs to stealth. Stealth has been just so butchered with this additional patch to it that now it's not even worth investing in stealth, as unless you get 50 stealth, which is something you can only do on Danny and Connie. It's basically worthless, as you're still gonna make noise doing a lot of things like opening crawl spaces, for example. Those are so noisy now. There's like nothing that's gonna let you just do it straight through. You have to take pauses in between them. And I seen from a tweet from Matt that it may have been a little overtuned, as the first time they made passes on stealth, if you guys remember that from months ago, it didn't quite affect the values like it was. So I think this additional path kind of activated those changes, and now it's like over nerfed. So hopefully they make some tweaks to that, because stealth's my favorite attribute. And right now, for you to need 50 stealth just to be able to quietly get an item, which previously you needed to have like at least 40 proficiency to even be able to do, with around 43-ish. Uh, um, Stealth was like, again, it's just like an unnecessary change that makes that attribute worthless. I feel like stealth needs to be buffed, not nerfed, as right now there's zero reason for you not to rush out the basement, just make all kinds of noise anymore, which again really affects Connie's and Danny's who actually would like to, play stealthy and avoid Johnny and other family members from coming down, putting some insane pressure down the basement. Now, the one other issue I've noticed from playing is there seems to be some sort of issue with the servers not properly updating and telling other players what you're doing. As you can see here on the screen, I have issues with me getting teleported and instantly executed. I had a leading that weld is particularly here in gas station. I seen him and look, he got stuck in a wall, and I just killed him, and he disconnected. So clearly, he's seen what I seen here in the next clip, where I weld. I showed her to Sweaty Nancy to try to come meet me in the basement. It wouldn't give me the prompt to go over a barricade, and voila, now I'm getting executed by her from 20 feet away. So they need to look into that, as that's huge. We also have the fixes to the victims crashing. Now, I've only had that happen once from I'm assuming a victim being executed. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Another player that was in my team talking, he wasn't sure what crashed the game. But regardless, I'm not quite sure if that change took or not. So you still might see the game crashing when you kill a victim in the DC right away. But moving on here, we have well, technically, this change is supposed to only be on Nancy's house, but it's just across the board change on doors. But now, breaking down the door properly shows the noise for both sides here. So doors are no longer going to be silent when someone is breaking it down. So I'm going to stay silent so you can look at this for a second. But moving on here, we have quite a bit of shadow changes they actually made to the game. I guess I'll get into it now rather than later. But for starters here, when you get into a lobby, there is now an audio that plays. Next up, we have a new noise that was made when you wake up, Grandpa. So that one is actually a pretty cool addition. Is it's pretty airy, and honestly, just I imagine you'll scare the crap out of a new player when you hear that due to a noisy victim again waking up Grandpa. And it just really adds to the tension. So I'm glad that they added that to the game here. You also have a new auto cue for a victim disconnecting, so you can differentiate what's going on a bit better. Now we also have changes to Johnny's concussive hits and really just concussion effect in general that Lily can apply. Um, it now distorts the screen a bit more. It has a like black tinge around it, and it's a little yellowish in the center. So that makes Johnny's concussive hits definitely have a bit more feedback to it, and in some situations, it could even kind of freak out a victim enough to get them to mess up and forget that there's like a gap or crawl space in front of them or what have you. So very nice change that they added there. Now they also have a buff to Sissy. Fortunately, it's not them fixing her Bane ability, so you're still not going to be able to poison victims through gaps and crawl spaces. But they, however, have added more not crawls, more poison stations around all the basements on all the maps. So previously, only Family House had a poison station in the basement. Well, just one, and gas station had a couple down in the basement. The one in Family House and gas station both were two. However, the ones on Slaughterhouse and Nancy's house have three. So I believe there's only one on Nancy's house. I was not able to get back to Nancy's house, and all the times I've tried playing Sissy this week. And speaking of which, a lot of people want to play Sissy now for some reason. But anywho, um, the one, however, one's on Slaughterhouse. There's, like I said, there's three of them, and interestingly, They are in place of two of the three pump locations that used to be in the basement. So for all of you who do not know, when the game first launched, there was a, or I'm sorry, there were valve pumps that spawned in the basement. And this is, by the way, was back before the tanks were pressurized, so it was just a nightmare for the family. But the tanks that used to spawn in the workshop right by the furnace and Leatherface Lair have been replaced with a poison station for Sissy, so that is great for if Sissy has to chase someone in the basement. Now she'll have some stations to refuel at to help with those pesky victims that have tons of barricades and gaps, especially that they can abuse down there. So very nice change that they did there. And again, these are shadow changes, so these are stuff that haven't been properly documented, but still great changes nonetheless. So I'm glad that they did that. Now they also added the a noise notification for the battery being turned on and off. It does not show a notification on the screen, but you can hear it, so that's nice. So much like with the fuse box, which now has the notification for it being turned on and off for both sides, this definitely has some nice feedback. So I highly advise not turning off the battery until you unlock the gate, as you may suss yourself out and avoid an easy escape. Now the generator, strangely, does not have the notification for it being turned on and off for both sides. It's only giving you a notification for victims if it's turned off and family when it's turned on. So they might want to do some tweaks on that. Now, I haven't respect Leland to see about his character not showing as level 10 when he's gotten everything on his left side, as I've never touched that side yet. I'm saving that for the last. But moving on to the elephant in the room, and that's going to be Danny and his nerfs to his ability. They have indeed did some pretty good changes to it. Whereas, again, this is a shadow nerf here. Now, Danny takes almost a full bar of knowledge to tamper something, and it's not instant anymore. Again, it has to fill all the way up. So there is a chance for the family to be able to interrupt you during that. I'm not sure what that looks like, as I've never been on the receiving end of that happening. I've usually backed out in if well, backed out of the animation if I know a family member is coming, as I don't want to risk my knowledge, or I've completely did it in their face, whether I died immediately after or escaped or not. But I can say from spectating this guy here that it appears that the progress saves much like picking a lock. So I don't believe that's something that was done before. You, Danny Mays, would be able to tell me if that's the case or not. So that's something to keep in mind. Now going into the perks that well, hold on, actually no, I'm going getting ahead of myself here. Instant study, yes. Instant study, they have changed that, so there's now a separate prompt for tampering it and studying it. Unfortunately, that's only for instant study that the prompts are separated. However, if you do decide to take instant study, you can never tamper that again. So that's enough for me to never use it again. Instant studying something is nice, but with how much knowledge it now takes, it's not worth having to permanently not be able to tamper other stuff and kind of committing to one exit, as basically with how much knowledge it takes now. Aside from maps like Slaughterhouse and Nancy's House, which are always his best maps, it's a little tougher to quickly get the knowledge to tamper stuff like that. Now, one issue I do have with it, and I'm not sure if it's a bug or not, but the prompts still require you to study something before tampering it if you're not using instant. And although they have readjusted all his knowledge, so getting TVs and radios are still pretty juicy. Getting the actual objective itself isn't as good, as it only gives you around 20 to 30 knowledge to tamper. So you may have to do a lot more like main objectives to get a full bar or almost a full bar to instant quote unquote tamper something. So that's something to keep in mind. So I can definitely say from these changes, Daddy feels a lot less BS. As generally, if he does end up tampering something, it's because he took a long time to do it. So he's gonna really be a threat the longer a match goes on. However, I can say he definitely feels more like he earned a tamper now with all these nerfs and changes to him. Now again, getting on the perks like I mentioned before. Tracker tag, it still feels good, but it not having those stacked marking durations definitely does affect it, as now if you hit someone to get into a grapple, you don't have like a chance of maybe a lingering effect, allowing family members to catch it back up to the victim after they've won or what have you. You have the choose fight buff. Now, one thing they did do along with it actually properly affecting close encounter stuns is family members now do not get in that state where they kind of walk like a duck after they've been hit with a long stun, like from Taekwondo and then whatnot. They are able to run after they've been out of the actual stun animation. The additional stun only just kind of interaction locks them until the extra effect is over. So that's one thing to keep in mind, as they still will be able to catch up with you. It's just they won't be able to hit you right away. Bomb Squad only used maybe once, but I can't say from that one game I've used. The speed is nice, but it's not ridiculous like it used to be. And as expected, generally just being able to disarm one trap is all you need to be able to get a way out for you and your allies and just end the game. So uh, Bomb Squad's still useful in my opinion. So don't feel discouraged from running it because it's not infinite and 80% speed. It's only a 30% speed decrease, and again, four disarms is more than enough to get you and your allies out. Choose flight. I never personally clutched off of that perk much. Only really used it when I was upgrading perks across the board for victims. But I can say a lot of victims are whining about it. Honestly, I'm sorry guys, but you use that as an excuse not to touch the endurance attribute. And all the victims who needed those three stacks, they always seem to have had those stacks just burnt out from their first chases. Just about everyone I've spectated with choose flight in most situations always were at empty stacks. So people have now kind of switched over to condition and jump start. And again, in my opinion, just invest in endurance if you feel like endurance is an issue, and be more conservative and smarter with your chases. As being cocky and using flight as a shield against the family is exactly why now you're seeing people crying about scout nerfs. And again, guys, you've all crutched off of choose flight and forced the family to use scout to be able to catch up to you. Because when you're sprinting without scout, they literally can't catch you until you run out of stamina. So you have to keep in mind, scout is necessary to catch a sprinting victim. So do the math here. Same with Johnny's swing tech. They've nerfed that. Johnny does not gain speed from swinging anymore. It's only Scout that makes him so fast. He keeps his momentum when swinging, but Scout makes him faster than a victim. Again, do the math and you understand why he can catch you. I know it feels bad seeing him swinging at you like a madman and then immediately cutting you down in five swings or less, but they already confirmed all the perks that see high uses like fired up, which a lot of people are mad they didn't nerf for this update. It's all going to get nerfed in the end. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out how Grappler has been matrix dodging nerf after nerf when that perk has been busted since launch and it's still unchanged. But while we're on the topic of grapples, the change in the no more instant execution from grapples, it's not as bad as people expected. The only issues now with it is empowered. Unless you are right there at the beginning of the grapple and you have high savagery, generally it's going to result in a victim winning and then them getting away because they get half their health back from winning it. However, Leatherface showing up generally at any point in the grapple exchange will result in them dying. As you see here, there's Leland mistakenly grappled in front of Leatherface, and even though he's not even hitting him with an overhead, he still managed to get the kill, even after Leland got half his health back. So Leatherface will still be someone you don't want to grapple anywhere near, as it will not end well for you. So we have changes to the Nicotero's chainsaw startup. Now, again, this is when you are about to gain control of Leatherface. You see them jittering after the gallows kill. That now does the proper sound effect to it. However, I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but now you can hear Leatherface spawning into the map in the basement. So if you haven't paid attention to the score or the lobby and you didn't notice Leatherface, maybe this what this change was for, but I personally don't like it as it feels a little awkward. So that is generally about it for all of the fixes here. We still have some stuff like choose fight and fight back and even tuckered out that they fixed, bounce back, am I bleeding, etc., etc. I haven't really had any instances where I ran into all this stuff that I was able to test and all that. I can't say that fuse box interactions seemed fine. It's properly told me that I can't turn it off and etc. No issues like that. But if we were to go ahead and rate this update again, I'd say I'd give it like a B plus, as stuff like Sissy's Bane not being fixed in crawl spaces, which has been bugged since launch and is not properly affected by shrimp. That's stuff that they still need to address. I'm disappointed with the stealth nerfs. And we didn't get anything in this update. No content drops or skins or whatever. Like there's just like nothing. None of that stuff was added. I can say that they have, as of me recording this video, released some teasers for Shirtless Johnny and Sissy. People have complained about them as they're very bare bones, but I have to tell you guys, again, these are both free. So I don't know what we're expecting. Of course, they're just going to literally remove Johnny's shirt and call it a day. Sissy, they at least put some effort into, but people are complaining because they want her to have a big, stereotypical wedding dress with a veil over her face. And someone even pointed out, how would she look going through a crawl space in a giant wedding dress where realistically she'd get that snagged on something and it rip off, you know? So of course it's going to be shorter, and plus it's time accurate. Do your research on the time period here, in fashion, et cetera, and you'll see. Yes, this is what they wore. So again, if you're going to complain about something being free, I really don't know what to tell you here. Now, one thing I also did want to point out here is the lobby timers. What they did, the lobby timers, was a complete fail. Them just completely removing the timer is not confused. Some people are thinking the lobby is bugged and won't start, as the timer only shows up when it's about to start, and then them claiming the lobbies will not disband early anymore is false. After you've been in a lobby for probably what's 5 minutes, it will still disband the lobby if you didn't get a full uh, lobby in that time. So they need to maybe address that. As it's not major. It's not like when they let you start it with one less victim or family member, but again, it's still something that needs to be addressed. And the nerf that they did to Easy Tuckered out, it was a slap on the wrist. It's not even noteworthy. I haven't used Easy Tuckered out, so I can't really comment it, as I respect away from that on Hitch and Johnny a while ago, and I didn't bother to respec into it, but that's not going to affect much. And again, just getting a 50 endurance is basically Easy Tuckered out anyway, so again, a very minimalistic change, and Easy Tucker was never the problem with Johnny's swing tech. It was always the speed, which, as I said before, not being a dead horse here, it's gone. Poison Claws on Nancy. Again, I forgot that one. I'm sorry. That nerf wasn't too major. It's still going to get you killed in some instances, especially if there's other family members around. But again, it's still nice that you won't have it stacking for ridiculously long amounts of times. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I kind of forgot about this. But confusing mechanic. I don't know what they did to confuse the mechanic. They worded it strange. I want up to generators, etc. I don't see an option to tamper to extend it, so I don't know if it's just by default now or if it's still after you have the victim sabotage it, you have to turn it back on and to get that extra time or not. But they maybe need to apply some better feedback to that. Yeah, for those of you curious about rough cut, the whole it not stacking bleed out things. Again, most part, if they survive a two tap from Leatherface, that bleed damage usually doesn't help. So that hasn't changed whether it stacks or not. So I still kind of wouldn't recommend really doing rough cut unless you want to get exterior alarms, because they're both the same path on this tree. Oh, and freaking blood. How did I forget about blood? Great change to blood, I can say. Now that they've changed the way blood works, it's very easy. Well, I wouldn't say very easy like before, how it was bugged on console, but again, if you look out for blood, you can definitely use it to track victims easily. Whereas before it was the PC blood, where you weren't looking at blood and tracking it when the blood was a joke before. So it was a very good middle ground. I'm glad they changed that. Door slamming, the way they've changed it now with only highlighting for a second is great for you being able to fake out a family member and go back and barge them, or again breaking line of sight. So that was a good change. I'm not going to complain about that. Now this is a weird bug. I can't quite pinpoint what's going on with it. It's kind of inconsistent, but I have noticed that Anna seems to get stuck when she drops down a well from a family house. So be careful about that. And again, if you've run into this issue, please go to their social medias and figure out how to report it onto their website so we get this hammered out, because that is a huge one for you automains to have happen on Family House and kind of force you, honestly, to just not use her on that map to avoid this from happening. And lastly, the change they made to Danny's inspection speed, dropping it down from 30 to 20% at level one. Still feels decent, and then 50% is still good enough where I believe you just respect to that from instant. You'll still be able to get things relatively quick and do what you need to do with Danny. So, a few things I missed that I had to say after I rated it again. It's not a bad bug fix nonetheless. There's still some things that need to change, and hopefully we'll get some content soon within the next week or two as they just, again, as I said, tease Johnny and Sissy's new cosmetics as the. I really want to see some new executions, especially. The only cosmetics I really want to see for victims, at least, is Danny's. Is those things have been leaked in the game by the devs himself for like almost 3 months now. They're still not in the game, so I don't know what they're doing. But for the love of everything that's holy gun, put out Danny's cosmetics at least. So since I already know we're getting one for Sissy and Johnny, I'm begging you. But this video's going on long enough, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content here. It's free. This isn't a Twitch. You don't have to pay for a subscription. So again, if you are interested in what I have to offer here, please check out what I have now and expect cool new videos like this and some more actual gameplay in the future. And be sure to comment. Let me know what you guys think about the update. What your experience has been, and whatever you feel like saying down the comments below. Thanks for watching and take care. And one more thing.